I wouldn't expect you to.
All right, here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mediation and Beyond YouTube channel. And today I am super excited to have Emile Flowers. She is a certified divorce lending professional and mortgage loan originator, and is a valuable resource, which I've already realized just in talking to her before we started, to family law attorneys and myself actually as a mediator and their clients, to providing financing strategies to successfully separating from the mortgage before, during, and after divorce. Her experience, training, and education allow her to bring a different perspective when working with divorced clients, navigating the mortgage process. She understands the complications that can arise and can help establish realistic timelines and strategies. She is best able to assist in the early planning stages of the divorce process for successful outcomes with regards to real estate and mortgage financing. Being able to plan a new future with certainty should be the ultimate goal for all clients. She is the resource that can help pave the way. Expertise and specialties include overcoming challenges that arise while divorcing the mortgage. Examples: asset division, equity distribution, early planning to ensure mortgage financing is attainable in accordance with the divorce separation agreement. Income, this is an important one, income versus qualified income, and unique ways to resolve that potential pitfall. Coinciding the mortgage needs with the goals and expectations of the client. Of course, expectations are usually here. Reality is a little somewhere else. And helping divorcing couples transition to a new life. That's also a hard-hitting reality sometimes for some people. And clear and concise communication. So welcome, Emile. I'm really excited to have you on today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm
Absolutely.
Very excited to be here.
Where are you located?
I'm near St. Louis. I'm actually in Southern Illinois.
Okay.
But we're 9 miles outside the city of St. Louis. So if I tell people I'm from Illinois, they automatically think I'm from Chicago. So
oh, I gotcha.
I say St. Louis because it's a lot easier.
A lot easier. All right, I gotcha. So one of my first questions for people who come on my YouTube channel, Mediation and Beyond, is to really understand why you do what you do and how you kind of got started, so that people can get to know you a little bit before we kind of get into the meat of the stuff you do.
Okay. My story might be just a little different than most. So I stayed at home for 14 years with my kids. And when they got to a point where they were, in middle school, heading towards high school, my husband was in desperate need of a business partner that he could trust and wanted me to get. And he has had this thought for years before. He's been in mortgages for 27 years, me now 7 together. And he's always had this need to help divorcing clients and separating the mortgage. And he talked about it all the time. And we even came up with a nonprofit at one point that was a bunch of professionals that surround divorce. And talking, we had CDFAs and quadro attorneys and just you name it involved in this process, collaborative law attorneys and all kinds of things. And he's an idea guy. I'm an executor. So I started researching and, looking for ways to kind of do more with it. And I found Divorce Lending Association. Jody Bruns owns it and operates it. And she is a genius. She just, and is so helpful and amazing. Our trainings are, I went to Atlanta to get trained for it. And I actually also have I'm a certified mediator through Divorce Lending Association as well. I don't practice, but I do have a certification. I went to Colorado for that one, but Jody provides all that and weekly coaching and training. Just an amazing program. I'm constantly in continuing education with it. But anyway, that certification opened my eyes to what could actually be done for divorcing clients. And I'm sure you know as well as I know that, you know, my friends were starting to get divorced. Both my parents had been divorced. They're not divorced, but I have a half brother and a half sister. And my dad was divorced before, my mom was divorced before they came to me. And you can see what havoc it wreaks, right? People become people they never thought they would be during divorce. And then you have this massive asset that is also a very emotional asset at the same time that needs to be dealt with. Everybody already knows how they're going to split the TV and the, you know, washer and dryer and who's going to get, you know, what holidays. And they really do. Like I mean, they pretty much have that all sorted out by the time they're ready to split. But the house is always just a major, like, I want to keep the house. I don't want them to have the house. But I can't afford the house, and I don't, you know, all this stuff. So it just became more and more of a passion. And then you realize that there's special guidelines for divorce in lending, special, that most people don't know how to do. And the attorneys know nothing about it because it's not their job. Their job is to separate the two people, write the divorce decree, you know, do that thing. They don't know the lending guidelines, so they're starting to write these DSAs, and the language doesn't allow for you know, people to qualify or eventually qualify, or it could permanently damage later, things like that. And they're just sending them off to, you know, Joe lender, who is doing an 80% cash out and doesn't know that there's all these other options, and doesn't know that you can, you know, waive their property if it's written right in the divorce decree, things like that. So it really became that passion where it was, I think I can really help people on a multi-level here, and be so impactful and have it be meaningful, not only to them, but to me too.
So can you do mortgages for divorced individuals anywhere, or is it only in the state that you're in?
So I'm licensed right now in Illinois and Missouri, but I can literally get my license anywhere that I need to be. Right now, all my attorneys and things are in Illinois and Missouri. If I had more people to help, I would definitely do that as well. It's it's a national test that you pass for mortgage lending, and then you pay for licenses wherever you are. And some have more training and things like that, but they're easy to acquire once you're in.
So if somebody's sitting home, it's 1 a.m., they're scrolling through and they're like, wow, I've listened to this entire conversation that Colleen and Emily are having, and I'm sitting and I'm in Massachusetts or New York City, and I feel like this Emily could really help me. They could call you, and it would not be a wasted call.
It's never a wasted call, because if it's, we have CDLPs all across the US with the Divorce Lending Association as well, in case I needed assistance.
Okay. So the CDLP is a certified divorce loan or lending professional who has qualifications to help people originate loans who are strictly for divorced individuals.
Yes.
Okay, because that's its own separate.
It is. It has its own set of specialty guidelines that the underwriters, you know, need to, and most of them aren't aware. So I have to like drag them from, you know, my people at Divorce Lending.
why doesn't everybody have the training? If you have 50% or 40% of Americans divorced, why wouldn't everybody have that training?
Mostly they don't probably know it exists. There are several people, so there's probably 600 or 700 of us licensed, and I can probably guarantee you that there's maybe 400 that actually practice with, have a divorce lending practice, and that, work with attorneys and their clients, instead of going, oh, I'm a lender who has this, realtor, why don't you send me more deals? So there's a big difference in who's actually practicing and who knows these guidelines and can get the help that they need. So the other day, I reached out to Jody and Terry at the Divorce Lending Association. I said, hey, can you take a quick look at this snippet of my divorce decree and just make sure I have the right Fannie Mae guideline to go with it? And yep, got everything taken care of, sent it to my underwriter, done. We're ready to purchase. So, but it does take some maneuvering, because sometimes we're creating income from nothing. They were a stay-at-home mom like me.
That's going to be one of my questions. I have it written down right here. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're going to sell that family house. Your only income right now is, until you get back on your feet, is alimony and child support. How do you go and get another home?
So there's several different ways to structure alimony support, child support, things like that. And we can, if we get in early enough in the process, like discovery, we can help to structure that income so it looks like income and get that clock started so they can have it in enough time. And then also make sure it extends enough time to count as income. And then there's other ways to do it where you take lump sums and you can form that into quadros or,
Sure,
trust or whatever you need to do. So there's lots of ways to skin the cat, but you have to follow the guidelines. And that's why having that team of professionals in there, like me, that helps the attorney to do that, that's where you benefit. And we're a resource. We're not out there charging hourly to help people do this. We don't get paid unless they close on the refi, and sometimes that's 6 months to a year. It depends. So what if they weren't on title to the house and they want to refinance because they were a stay-at-home mom, so they weren't making any income? Well, they have to be on title for so long, and blah 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 blah. There's a lot that goes into it. So it's just making sure that you become that resource so that you can help structure everything properly. And then you start getting into, rental properties and all that stuff. And there's a million things that go along with that.
So let me ask you, I see a lot with women who, especially women, I don't want to put it all on women, but in cases where people are getting divorced and they'll say, well, I'm going to take my name off the deed and I'm going to deed that person the house. But then they don't take their name, thinking that that takes their name off the mortgage.
Correct.
Which
and
it doesn't. Which it does not.
It does not.
And then they're caught with like a deer in a headlight when they realize they can't go get a new house because just because you deed it over you can't have two mortgages unless you can afford two mortgages.
Unless you can afford two mortgages, or your divorce settlement agreement is written in a certain way that excuses you from the payments, which, whatever, or, and I've had some where it was, he was granted the home in the separation agreement, but the separation agreement wasn't filed until the divorce settlement agreement was finished. And he went late for like a whole year. So we can't do anything because the timing and the way it was written wasn't written to protect them from that.
Wow.
So that's why, again, you know, you're just like, oh, let me help you.
Yes.
And I'm learning that attorneys don't know about me. They don't know, you know, mediators, CDFA sometimes do, sometimes they don't. But they don't know what I do, and they don't even know we exist. But once we start talking to somebody, and they're a tight-knit bunch, everybody knows that. Mediators are a tight-knit bunch, attorneys are a tight-knit bunch. But once you kind of get in, they're like, oh my gosh, I want to introduce you to everybody.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you know, they need somebody that can help with this, with the structure.
I learned, I don't know, must have been 6-7 months ago, or during COVID, that there was a certified divorce real estate expert, I think.
There is.
And so I learned about that, but I've never heard of what you do until like a few minutes ago. So which I think is invaluable to the divorce process.
Well, you actually need me first.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
you
Before you sell the house. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I actually have a friend who's not even divorced yet, and the house is still sitting, and they haven't made those decisions yet. And I'm actually going to give her your information, because it's a big asset for them, and it's a home that's substantial amount of money, and I think that they both need to play it smart. You know,
Yes.
and I'm always about, do it smart together. Like, I'm not ever, I'm a mediator, so I never want to see anybody be acrimonious, but
no. And again, it's that huge, that large emotional asset. I mean, it's so many things come into play.
absolutely.
And you have to do something with it. There is no easy way out of this, unless, you're not on the mortgage or whatever, which is rare, and then we find a lot where they're not on the mortgage, and they're not on title, but they want to refinance. And I'm like, okay, well, what, now we have to get you on, the deed so that we can get you to refinance.
So if somebody was married and they are not on the mortgage, and they're not on the deed, but say they get monies out of the house for having been a long-term marriage or something like that, I would imagine that would be a little harder for them to just go in and get a home. It makes it a little harder if you've never been quote, wouldn't it be harder if you've never been a homeowner in that case?
Not necessarily. It just kind of depends, right? Because I mean, if you have income and you have, all the things you need, or we can structure that income and make it all come together.
Okay.
The first time home buyer that's not going to be a struggle. I mean, it rarely is in our area. And there's, it's funny. I will get people that call a lot, and they're like, oh, but I'm a first time home buyer, and I'm like, okay, well, a lot of those programs that you thought existed, they don't care if you're a first time home buyer anymore. So,
okay.
it's, and the grant programs and things are out there, but that stuff is tricky as well. And it's not free, you never get something for nothing. No. And so it's just tricky. It's an education process. So when we are working with somebody, whether they've gone through this before, they've owned a home, they haven't, they've never been divorced, they have been divorced, whatever it is, it's all about education and guidance. It is. There's nothing else out there. You have to help them protect themselves financially, and just make sure that we're making the right decisions, so that their money is protected, their assets are protected, that we're adding to their wealth. We're not putting them in a situation where they're, house poor.
Someone who can call you if there's someone who's going to make a phone call to you, what would be what information do they need to have so that they make the best use of their time on a phone with you?
So for the most part, people can apply. And that usually tells me everything I need to know.
Okay.
But having a conversation in advance of application, I just kind of need to know what you're trying to do.
Okay.
Because once we start kind of talking about, well, this is what I really want to do. And in a divorce situation, and I know that you know this being a mediator, they tend to change their minds often. Okay, I want the house. I don't want him to have the house. I'm going to raise these kids here and I'm going to do this. And wait a second. I don't think I want this house. He can have the house, and they kind of flop back and forth a lot. And I understand that. Again, it's an emotional asset.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just talking through that. And I'm a financial neutral. I am just there to say, okay, well, you want to keep the house. Well, tell me more about, how you're going to afford the house and what your plans are, and then where you're at financially and how that, let's just have a conversation about what makes sense for you, because you may start out one way. And once we kind of go through the path, you may go, oh, well, I don't want to do that. I want to sell now. I did that with somebody on the phone the other day. I'm like, well, here's what the payments look like. Here's what this looks like. And she's like,
Okay.
nope, I'm selling. And I was like, okay, let me know if you need me. I'm gonna, I'll be right here to help you.
Absolutely. Because if they sell, they're still going to need another loan if they'd like to buy another home anyways. And you can help them do that as well, right?
Well, and they should. So we're in that market where people are selling and divorcing, right? And they've got this big lump sum of money and they think, oh, well, I'll just buy the house in cash. And then after that, they've got this dormant asset and no cash. So what are you going to do with that? Yes, you don't have a house payment, but then you don't have groceries either. So, we have to talk through all of it. Let's make sense of what's happening. So yes. And then the other myth is, well, I'm personally licensed. So at a bank, just the bank is licensed, but as a lender, I'm personally licensed. So I definitely have a confidentiality agreement and all that stuff. But it's best to work with both couples because I'm dealing with one set of paperwork. And I'm a financial neutral. So I'm not talking to husband about wife or wife about husband.
Right.
They're separate, but their paperwork is together because they've been together for who knows how long. So whether you're refinancing and buying or you're selling in two purchases, it makes sense to use the same person like me because then my underwriter only has to deal one divorce decree for both clients. I mean, we can use the same underwriter so that they already know the guideline.
Right.
Works out really well.
It's kind of streamlined that way.
It does. Yep. Makes it the process faster too. And then the separation is quicker.
And so someone could contact you no matter which stage of the divorce they're in, whether it's the beginning, middle, or end, right?
Correct.
And you can help see them through, right?
Yes, we can do it post-divorce. We can do it in the middle of a divorce. That one's very interesting because we typically have to get letters and things from both attorneys, but they can't be used. So only we see them. So it can be that part's a little tricky. And then prior to divorce, knowing you're going to be getting a divorce, we can do split assets and things like that with marital waivers and other things that need to be done. So yeah, pretty much before, during, after, to, through, all that.
And I would imagine you're not, but are you strictly just doing divorced cases or doing loans in general as well?
I still have traditional clients as well as divorcing. My divorcing client numbers are definitely climbing. to the point where I may just have my traditional business go through my husband instead of me. But I'm always here. I mean,
right.
I love my job and I love helping people. So that just is what it is.
So that is so good to know about certified divorce lending professionals. Like, I had never heard of that. And I think that is a credential that I think is so well worth seeking out. And you said there's 400 to 600 in the country, I guess?
Yeah, I think there's like 600 or 700 in the company, in the country through like the Divorce Lending Association, at least that I know of. But again, you know, just making sure that they're, you know, practicing.
Yes.
Too makes a big difference.
Yeah.
To me,
Instead of just having their credential that they never use, right? I mean, that because you want to keep up on CEUs and what current trends and what's going on. And I think what a vital asset you are to have on a team when you're helping people unravel their lives. And a home, like you said, next to children is so near and dear, especially we get so attached because it houses, no pun intended, all our memories, right? It's such an emotional attachment. So
part of the family unit. It just is.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's like the family dog, right? You're like, oh,
it is.
The house.
Yes.
So,
and for a lot of people, you know, it is their, you know, it's like, you know, it's their lives, and especially for people who stay at home, men or women, it doesn't matter, but whoever stays at home, that's your domain. That's your place. And
I mean, I understand that as well, you know, probably more than most, just because I stayed home for 14 years. That's my business.
Yeah.
Too.
Your baby.
So,
your place.
Yeah.
No, it's your place. No, I really appreciate this, Emily, and I will have all your contact information. I think you are well worth the phone call, well worth reaching out to have a conversation with. And so good to know that you can help couples, not only where you're located in Missouri, Illinois, but you know, in other places as well, if needs be. And also, if you can't help them in that area, that you probably can put them in touch with somebody who can.
Yes. No, and I am happy to do that. And you know, I talk to attorneys all the time. So you know, that introduction to that attorney to help them know somebody like me, you know, is everything. Because if we get to them soon, then less things are, you know, hard later.
Yes. Yes. Preventive medicine, right?
Yes. Yeah. Very much like that.
Seriously. And I think more people need to have that than finding out you have a problem at the end. Correct.
Yeah. It can be heartbreaking letting somebody know, I'm sorry, you know, this DSA is not helping me help you right now. Yes. So it's going to take me a little while, but keep my number, keep contacting me, ask me questions.
And
me, you know,
for everybody who'd like to go on and get Emily's information, you can find it below the video on the YouTube channel, and I'll post it there. And reach out to her for help, email her, contact her. Obviously, you're a wealth of information. I really enjoyed talking with you. And I am sure our paths will cross again. Keep doing the good work you're doing. And thanks for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really had a great time and enjoyed being on your show.
Thanks, Emily. Take care.
You too.